This podcast is for the ones who know they were rescued, but also know they were resent. Saved by grace, sent to live different. We're not rebelling against God, we're rebelling against everything that keeps us from Him. We'll talk faith, identity, purpose, leadership, and what it really looks like to follow Jesus in a loud and noisy world. We'll dissect scripture, we'll exposit it, we'll grow, and we'll stretch our faith. Welcome to the Daily Rebel. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Daily Rebel. Man, we are on episode 14 as we're diving into the letter that James, the half-brother of Jesus, wrote to the 12 tribes dispersed. So let's dive back in, verse 13. Here we go. He says, "There's no one undergoing a trial should say, I am being tempted by God, since God is not tempted by evil, and He Himself doesn't tempt anyone." Man, the title of today's message is this: Don't blame God. There's been a lot of times in life I know that it's so easy, and I said this on the last episode, that sometimes we flip this proverbial middle finger at the Lord every time we get smited or we hurt or we go through some type of wilderness, man. And James is going to peel back and pull no punches on what this really means. So anytime we're tested, we need to understand that God has most certainly allowed our trials and temptations, or trials and tribulations and temptations, but it's never been caused by Him, because He cannot tempt people with evil. So James just said, blessed is the one who endures. There is a crown of life. Trials have purpose. Now he kind of shifts because something dangerous happens in hardship. Check this out. When pressure increases, our responsibility decreases. We start looking for someone to blame. Y'all, I'm bad at that. Every time something goes wrong at work, or every time something goes wrong with my family, I'm always looking for the cause, the root, kind of like, let's go back in time and see what really happened. But here's the deal. James cuts it off immediately. So real quick, let's talk about trial versus temptation. There's a subtle shift in language here. Earlier, James used the word for trial, something external that tests our faith. Now he speaks of temptation, something internal that pulls us towards sin. It's the same root word, but it's a different direction. See, a trial, man, it tests you. Temptation entices you. So a trial tests you, it trains you, it brings you to this workshop. But in temptation, it entices you. But here's what James says. He says, when you're under pressure, don't confuse the test with the temptation. Ooh, hear that? Don't confuse the test with temptation. And absolutely do not say, God did this to make me sin. Why? Because God is not tempted by evil, and He does not tempt anyone. God may allow testing, but He never authors sin. So let me get out 3 points of this text. Number one, check this out. Pressure reveals, it doesn't create. Let me unpack that. Pressure reveals, it doesn't create. You see, trials expose what's already inside. They don't create sin. They reveal where vulnerability is. The heat didn't make the impurity. It merely revealed it. When pressure exposes weakness, we can't blame God. We got to let it humble us. And as redeemed rebels, man, we need to stop shifting responsibility, and we need to accept refinement. So the thing is, every time we play the blame game, that's exactly what Adam did in the garden, right? Our first father, the first man ever created. After the serpent had tempted them, and after Eve ate the apple, even though Adam was right there, instead of stomped on his satanic head, he said, the woman you gave me. So he shifted the blame and showed what his real heart was like. So look, man, don't be blaming God. Number two, God tests faith. He doesn't tempt with sin. Testing strengthens trust. We've seen this. Temptation seduces desire. So God's goal is maturity through the tests He allows us and leads us to. And temptation's goal is always the same: destruction. Anytime a fisherman puts a bait on a hook and lures a fish over there, here's the deal. A fish sees the bait. It sees the worm, and it doesn't see the hook that's on the other side of that bait. And so literally it gives this promise without any notification that it will kill you. You see, God allows trials to deepen you. Sin invites temptation to divide you. If it pulls you away from God, this is going to be very good. It's not from God. God is holy, and holiness does not bait. It's only going to persuade you towards deeper a relationship with Jesus. So point number 3, here we go. Blame blocks growth. Blame blocks growth. So check this out. The moment you blame God, you stop growing. Hear that. The moment you blame God, you stop growing. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to man, get real and raw and authentic with the Lord about what's going on. And there's been many times in my life where I've looked at the Lord and I was like, Lord, what are you doing? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Here's the deal. Those are moments I stopped growing. I stopped trusting. I stop growing and I stop trusting. Here's the deal. Blame protects pride. Ownership produces maturity. Blame protects pride, which if you look in the middle letter of the word, it's Pride. It has a whole lot of me in there. James is protecting the character of God, and he's showing us the responsibility of man. You cannot overcome. Here we go. Write this down. You cannot overcome what you refuse to own. You cannot overcome what you refuse to own. Redeemed rebels, look, we don't accuse God. We examine our hearts and we give it to the Lord. Under pressure, it's easy to say, why did God do this? James says he didn't tempt you. God is not against you. He's just refining you. So here's the daily rebel question I want to ask you. When pressure hits, do you blame or do you build? Because redeemed rebels don't accuse the Father. They trust his character and they own their response. We'll see you back tomorrow for the final day of this week of the Daily Rebel. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Before you go, if you want to help other people be equipped to be redeemed rebels, give us a follow and share it around with your friends. We'll see you next time.